Very good evening. Hello, hi. Welcome to Azutech channel. This is Dr. Sangeeta. In my previous video, I was telling you about the three domains of life. So let me continue with this topic now. Three domains of life. First is archaea. Second is bacteria, and third one is eukarya. So we are going to study detailedly about archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Now talking about the domain archaea, this domain includes a single cell organism, that is the prokaryotes, which have the ability to grow in extreme conditions like volcano vents, hot springs, etc. and they are called as extremophiles. So they are capable of synthesizing their food without sunlight and oxygen by utilizing only hydrogen sulfide, that is H2S, and other chemicals from the volcanic vents. So some of them produce the methane, that is the methanogens. Few live in salty environments, you called as halophiles, and or thermoacidophiles, which thrive in acidic environments and at high temperatures. These are all the characteristics of domain archaea. Now talking about the domain bacteria. So bacteria, they are prokaryotic. They don't have the nucleus. They and DNA exist as a circular chromosomes, and they do not have the that is histones associated with it. So they do not possess a membrane-bound organelles except for the ribosomes 70S type. So this wall, they contain peptidoglycans. So many are decomposers, some are photosynthesizers, and a few cause diseases. So they are beneficial probiotic bacteria and harmful pathogenic. Pathogenic is the disease causing bacteria which are diversely populated. So this cyanobacteria are the photosynthetic blue-green algae which produces oxygen. So they have played a very key role in the changes of atmospheric oxygen levels from anaerobic, that is absence of oxygen, to aerobic, that is the presence of oxygen during the early periods. So if you can take a best example is curd as one of the best sources of probiotics, which are friendly bacteria that can improve our health. Example is lactobacillus species. So these are the characteristics of domain bacteria. Now talking about the domain eukarya, that is eukaryotes, it implies that it has got a nucleus. They are the animals, they have a true nucleus and a membrane-bound organelles. So the DNA in the nucleus is arranged as a linear. It is in a linear chromosome with the histone proteins. They do have the ribosomes of 80S type in the cytosol, and 70S type is present in the case of chloroplast and mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. So the animals in this domain, they classified under the kingdom, namely Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. So these are all the characteristics of archaea, bacteria and eukarya. So as I told you about the five kingdom classification, that is the five kingdom classification, Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae and the animalia. You have to see the features. Taking an example, cell wall. How is the cell type in Monera? It is prokaryotic. In the case of Protista, it is eukaryotic. Fungi is also eukaryotic. It has a nucleus. Plantae, they have nucleus, and animalia, they are also eukaryotic. If you take the cell wall, structure of the cell wall, they are non-cellular in the case of Monera. In the Protista, some they are present, okay, and fungi, the cell wall is present, and in the case of other two, the cell wall is present. Plantae and the animalia, the cell wall is present. If you take the body organization, in the case of Monera, you have a cellular level of organization. In Protista also, you do have a cellular level of organization. and fungi it is having a multicellular tissue. The plantae will be having the tissue organ, and the animalia is the tissue organ and the organ system. So the mode of nutrition, if you take, it will be having autotrophic nutrition or the heterotrophic nutrition. What for both Monera and Protista, the mode will be, one will be like autotrophic, the other one will be heterotrophic. If you take in the case of fungi, the mode of nutrition will be heterotrophic. It is depending on the others. Hetero means what is depending on the others. And plantae is naturally it is autotrophic. It is a it can prepare the food by itself. So it is autotrophic. And animalia and humans, we are all heterotrophic. We depend on the plants and plants for food. So these are the 5 kingdom classification with the salient features I told you now. Now, as I already told you, the traditional 5 kingdom system is being classified into Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. The 6th kingdom system is, you have all this, I'll tell you, Monera, Protista, Fungi, Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. Okay, so Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. This is a 5 kingdom system. 5 kingdom system. Now you take the 6th kingdom system, which is common. The common is Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. The 4 are common. Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia are common. The one is that what? Bacteria. 4, 5. So this is bacteria. Then you have to say archaea. So bacteria, Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia and archaea. So this is the 6th kingdom classification. So 5, I'll tell you again. 5 kingdom is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. 6th kingdom system is bacteria, archaea, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. And the 7th kingdom is Eubacteria, Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Archaebacteria. You'll be having Protozoa and then Chromista. Eubacteria, Archaebacteria, Protozoa, Chromista. Then you'll be having fungi, Plantae, Animalia. This is the 7th kingdom. So 5, 6 and the 7th kingdom. If you take the traditional 5 kingdom system, you'll be having Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. 6th kingdom system, you have bacteria, archaea, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia. And if you take the 7th kingdom system, you'll be having Eubacteria, Archaebacteria, Protozoans, Chromista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Now we'll talk about the taxonomic hierarchy. What is taxonomic hierarchy? The taxonomic hierarchy in biological classification, if you say, the taxonomical hierarchy includes 7 major categories, namely kingdom, phylum, subphylum, class, order, family, genus and species. So, it includes kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species, and other intermediate categories. You have the subkingdom, grades, division, subdivision, subphylum, superclass, subclass, then you can say superorder, suborder, superfamily, subfamily and subspecies. So this is the taxonomic hierarchy. So now we'll talk about the species. So the species, if you take the species, which is the lowest level in the classification, and the kingdom will be the highest level in the classification. Now if you can take the species, it is the basic unit of classification in the taxonomic hierarchical system. Okay, so it is a group of animals. They will be having a similar morphological features, that is the traits, and they are reproductively isolated to produce a fertile offspring. So there are some exceptional animals which can produce sterile offspring because of mating with closely related species. That is the species. Then we are talking about the genus. Genus is that what it is a group of closely related species which have evolved from a common ancestor. So in some genus there is only one species which is called as monotypic genus. You call it as monotypic genus. That is the red panda is the only species in the genus Alurus fulgens, you call it as. So if there are more than one species in the genus, it is known as polytypic genus. For example, cats come under the genus Felis, which has a number of closely related species. Felis domestica. Felis domestica will be the zoological name for the domestic cat. Then Felis margarita, that is a jungle cat which lives in the forest, and Felis sylvestris, that is a wild cat. So this are the different cats: domestic cat, jungle cat, and the wild cat, all belonging to the cat family, but they are closely related species. One is called as domestic, one is the jungle, the other one will be the wild cat, but the genus is what? Felis. It is coming under the genus Felis. Now we'll see the systematics of human beings. As I already told you, systematics of human beings, that is, we are belonging to the kingdom Animalia. Then comes your phylum, Chordata. Chordata is what? Animals will be having a notochord and a vertebral cord. There is a spinal cord. The backbones are present. Then class, Mammalia. We are belonging to the class called Mammalia. What is Mammalia? That is, the body is being covered with the fur. That is your hair or fur, and you have a mammary glands. And which family we are belonging to? We are belonging to Homidae. That is Hominidae family. That is the primates with relatively flat faces and a binocular vision. And genus Homo. And species will be the sapiens. So Homo means what? They are hominids with large brain and they have a upright posture. Species is Homo sapiens, that is bipedal, and they have the higher intelligence. So this is the systematics. And now talking about the family, what it is a taxonomic category which includes a group of related genera with a less similarity as compared to the genus and species. For example, if you take the family Felidae, it includes the genus Felis, that is, I told you, cat, and the genus Panthera. So the lion you call as Panthera leo, and tiger you call as Panthera, you call Tigris tigris, and leopards. They all are belonging to the genus called Panthera. Okay, now coming for the order. What is the order? The category includes an assemblage of one or more related families which share a few common features. So for example, you can see the family Canidae and Felidae. They are all placed in the order carnivores. They belong to the order called carnivores. And we're talking about the class. This category includes one or more related orders with some common characters. For example, if you could take the Primata, comprising monkeys, apes, and man, which is placed in the class Mammalia, along with the order Carnivora, which includes the dogs and cats. And we'll be talking about the phylum. Phylum is what? The group of classes with similar distinctive characteristics constitute a phylum. They will be having some distinct characteristics. What are they? Classes fishes, that is fishes, amphibians, your frogs, reptiles, you can take out as vesicular, aves, the birds, the mammalia, the ourselves, constitute the next higher category, phylum Chordata. These classes, they share some common features like presence of a notochord, dorsal tubular nerve cord, and they are hence included in the phylum Chordata. And finally, we'll talk about the kingdom. All living animals belonging to the various phyla, they are included in the kingdom Animalia, and it is the topmost of the taxonomic hierarchy. The topmost is the kingdom and the species will be the lower level. So that you have to understand the things. And finally, we'll talk about the nomenclature. So the nomenclature, we'll be now talking about binomial nomenclature. Just a minute. Nomenclature, in which we'll be talking about the binomial nomenclature. What is binomial nomenclature? The system of classifying the animals with two names. One with a generic name and other one with the species name. That is called binomial nomenclature. So this binomial nomenclature, who popularized it? It was being popularized by Carolus Linnaeus, and it was practiced by biologists all over the world. So example, you take a national bird. Which is a national bird? You call it as Indian peafowl. That is the botanical term, the zoological term will be Parvocristatus. The national animal tiger, you call it as a Panthera tigris. You call it as Tigris tigris also. Now you say it as Panthera tigris. And Tamil Nadu state bird is it is the common emerald dove, that is Chalcopats indica. So this is binomial nomenclature, and you do have some rules for following this nomenclature. One is that, as I told you, the system of classifying the animals with two names, one with the generic and other one with the species name. So this genus name will always you should write it in the capital letter, and second, the species you should write it in the small letter. That is the rule, and it has to be italicized. It should be italicized. Okay, the first name should be in caps and the second name should be in second species will be in the smallest letter. So this is the binomial nomenclature. Now this is binomial. Now we'll talk about trinomial nomenclature. What is trinomial? Tri means what? Three. So this trinomial nomenclature, this naming system was proposed by Huxley and Strickland. Trinomen means what? Three names, that is generic name, specific name and subspecies name. So when members of any species which have the large variations, then the trinomial system is used. So what example you can give is that you can say that our crow, you can take our Indian house crow, you call it as Corvus splendens splendens. You call it as Corvus splendens splendens. Okay, that is the trinomial nomenclature. And finally, we will talk about tautonyms. What is tautonyms? Tautonyms means the practice of naming the animals in which the generic name and specific name are the same. You can take our Indian cobra, you call it as Naja Naja. And I need your support to subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you.